Have you ever wondered, is it actually possible to make money renting out cars on Turo? Sometimes people think maybe it's too competitive now, or maybe it's not worth all the work for the amount of money you can make. Well, I'll tell you, I've been doing Turo and private rentals now for over 5 years, and it is absolutely worth it. And I've been able to scale my rental car fleet to over $50,000 a month. So if you're interested in starting or scaling your car rental business, please watch the end of this video because we're going to go over everything from starting to scaling a successful Turo fleet. A lot of other people will talk about Turo in the car rental business as simply a side hustle, some way just to make an extra couple dollars. We're not here to do that. This is an actual business we run full time. So we're going to show you exactly how to build this like a business and not just some little side hustle that barely brings any money in. Guys, we're going to cover a lot in the next 30 minutes. How I went from renting one car to making over $50,000 every month. How Turo's evolving, updates are opening up major opportunities for you, and why starting now might actually be your best move. I'm going to share some real stories of hosts thriving, even in this competitive market, and the actionable steps that will set you up for success. So stick with me, and this video is going to be a game changer. All right, guys, so let's talk about what it really takes to succeed in Turo and business in general. And not to sound corny or very repetitive from other general business content you've seen, but one of the number one things you have to do is start with the right mindset and understand that this is a long-term play. So what do I mean when I say start with the right mindset? So a lot of people and clients I work with, as well as just friends that I have, are entrepreneurs. Every entrepreneur can tell you that times can be very, very difficult at certain points. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It can be extremely stressful. If you're somebody that prefers to simply work a 9 to 5 and then not have to worry about anything until you clock back in for your job, I get that and I can understand the appeal of it. But a Turo business, or most businesses in general, will probably not be for you, because in business there are always fires that you have to put out, and that is something that is always going to continually happen. Not that you can't get better at managing these fires and also build out better systems so you have less issues and just more cash, which we've done a pretty successful job with. But if you don't have the right mindset going into this, you'll probably fail before you're able to really launch into this and succeed and really grow it. So what are some things that I've seen that have turned people off from Turo at the beginning? Well, people are probably going to damage your cars, guys. I couldn't believe that when I first got into this business, how many accidents I would see on the Facebook groups. And overall, don't listen to the Turo Facebook groups too much because they're pretty negative with people, but there are a lot of hosts on there that just don't know what they're doing. They're financing cars way too overpriced, and they're not even doing market research. Their settings are all messed up, so ignore that because there's tons of people making really good money. But when I first started doing my research, this was over 5 years ago, I'd go on those groups myself, and I would see people complaining that people were crashing their cars, and I thought, well, come on, this has to be kind of a rare thing, right? I'm sure most people don't smoke or crash the car. Well, then I got into the business and I realized there are a lot of accidents and there are a lot of smoking violations and cleaning violations. Not the overwhelming percentage, it's still a small percentage when you look at how many trips, because I've had over, I think, 3,500 trips just on Turo alone, not even counting private. And most of them go very well, very easy, great gas, not too many issues at all or anything to complain about. But others can be nightmares. And if you're somebody that's fragile or not easy to adapt or too attached to the car, you might say, well, my car got wrecked, it's not for me. Now I lost money on the insurance. But you lost money on the insurance because you didn't know how insurance worked, and you never checked the car in properly, and you didn't know how to communicate with the insurance agency. So really what I'm trying to say is things are going to go wrong, but you have to have the right mindset to not complain and have a victim mentality when that does happen. You want to be proactive and think, okay, how can I fix this? What can I do? What can I change that's going to get me a better result next time? So always be willing to learn and understand there's going to be some rough patches. There's going to be some mistakes. We all go through them. I still have headaches every single week with business, but I've learned to adjust my mindset to move faster with these problems, not dwell on them, and then look for people that can help me with these problems. Instead of maybe posting in a Facebook group where there's people that have like one car and they haven't made any money, asking them for advice, seek mentorship or somebody that actually knows what they're doing, that's built out a successful fleet, and then do your own research on the internet, because a lot of the answers are there. But if you don't have the right mindset, you're not open to learning more knowledge, and you're not keeping a positive mental attitude, you're probably not going to succeed in Turo, let alone any business, guys. So stay positive, stay focused, and make sure that you are improving things constantly and always gauging yourself where you're at and improving upon yourself to make a better you. And guys, with that mindset, that goes into having the power of consistency. When I first started, I was on Hire Car, and then I went to Get Around. Those are two platforms that don't exist anymore. Right now there's only Turo, and there's two other ones. One's called Trip City, I haven't used it, and then obviously doing private rentals. But with Get Around, that's when my consistency was really pushed to the edge. So Get Around did this thing, long story short, where in Pittsburgh, they launched 3 different zip codes. If you put vehicles in these zip codes, they would actually give you a bonus, which was amazing. So these were bonuses of $1,000, and then they would also give you guaranteed earnings for 3 months of up to $1,200 per vehicle. And that, you would still get that guaranteed, even if the car didn't rent one time, which was pretty crazy. But when I say consistency, so I had a tight schedule. I had another job with my other business where I was doing sales. And then I also was doing this and investing my sales money into building up my rental car fleet. Well, I had to get on a regimen of waking up at 5 a.m. every single day, which isn't too bad, but I was used to waking up at like 8. But 5 a.m., drive down to Pittsburgh, make my rounds, check out every single car for damage, take my notes down. And this was doing it for 11 cars, driving to 3 different areas of Pittsburgh, which isn't the easiest city to navigate, especially when you're talking 3 completely different parts of the city. I would do that. I couldn't miss a day because I had to make sure that everything was checked for insurance every single day. So there's no, at that point, there was no like, hey, going out with friends or maybe going partying one night, because if I didn't wake up and keep my schedule like just completely focused and on routine and have a solid regimen, then one of these cars could be down. I wouldn't get paid on insurance, and then one of those nights going out with friends or traveling could cost me thousands of dollars, because at that point I was so new. I just started this. I didn't have money to hire an employee. It was all me. So if I'm not consistent, then the business doesn't work. So that really put on more responsibility to me. And that was a summer that I will never forget, where I just kept my head down and grinded. And before I knew it, it was cold. The whole summer went by, but I had a lot more money. So guys, that's where mindset and then the consistency happens, because you can have the right mindset. You can be happy and think, hey, everything's gonna be great, and be an optimist. But if you're not consistent, then you're just foolishly optimistic and nothing's going to happen. So consistency is everything. When you make a promise to yourself, live up to that promise and make sure you are doing it every single day. All right, guys, and then another secret. So besides consistency and having the right attitude, it's having the right cars. When I first got started, I liked cars. I still like cars. I like cool cars. I like BMWs. I like Mercedes. I've never really gone more expensive than that, maybe in the future, but that's where my expertise lies when it comes to nicer cars. Those are the nicest cars I've been able to afford to drive. I also don't like to overextend myself. I'm sure I could get something a little bit nicer than a Mercedes or a BMW, but as far as what I want to spend, those are the cars I like. Well, when I first started, I thought, what a great idea it would be to rent these. If I like these cars, other people must like these cars, right? And then if other people like these cars, well, they'll rent them. I'll be able to pay them off, and then I'll own these cool cars I like. So I got a BMW X5, put that on the platform, rented that for a bit, and it ended up having an oil pan issue, which ended up costing thousands of dollars to fix. Had to take it to an actual dealership for BMW. That's very pricey. And then somebody else almost totaled it. They didn't. I almost wish they would have. And crashed it. So this thing's like put back together multiple times, thousands of dollars in maintenance, to the point where I got disgusted at even looking at it. Thankfully, I decided to buy some cheap economy cars with that test when starting. And I was surprised, but I was seeing my Chevrolet Malibus, my Mitsubishi Mirages, even my Ford Fiestas at the time, just completely kill it. And I started seeing that trend. And then after finding the tools online to start doing market research, and then I worked with other hosts that were giving me recommendations that I reached out to that were way bigger than me, because I only had like 5 cars at the time. They had over 50. Working with them, I identified that you really want to buy these cars a little bit older to maximize your Turo earnings. You'll notice that a 2018 versus 2024 on Turo, don't rent for much difference. So that was another thing that was really, really shocking to me. But then from there, we put together a system where we're able to identify the cars right at their depreciation curve. So we make sure that depreciation is now completely factored in with this. So when we go to sell the car, which we rarely do because usually we exit it by the car being totaled or something bad happening and we get a nice check for it. But when we do have to sell it now, we are completely fine because our depreciation is already baked in, which is amazing. But the economy cars are so huge, guys, I can't stress that enough. No matter what market you're in, I usually recommend them. And don't get me wrong, I'll still buy some nicer cars now. I have some Ford Explorers in the fleet that are 2023s. I have a Jeep Wrangler that's a 2023. And some of these are over $30,000, $40,000 cars, and I'll sprinkle a few of those in just to keep the fleet a little bit nicer and pay off, build some equity in some of these cars I like. And I'm obviously still sourcing them at good deals, but the heart and soul of my business is still economy cars, and I highly, highly believe that those are going to be the most successful. I can't tell you how many of these guys I've seen go out of business that do the luxury rides. I'm not going to say the name of this business because I don't have any issues with these guys at all, but there was a place in Pittsburgh and they decided to get into the exotic space, and I was very interested, right, because I'm in the car rental space. I'm doing economy. Then I see these guys buying Lamborghinis in Pittsburgh and just want to know what's going on here. Let's see if this can make sense. I'd be too scared to drive one of those Lamborghinis around Pittsburgh, hit a pothole. They don't do the best job with the roads around here, but anyways, watch them. And what their strategy was, they were renting these cars out to celebrities and people doing like music videos, rappers, things like that. And I think they went out of business within like a year and a half. And I imagine it's because they're high payments they had to have these cars. Obviously, the area is not the best either. I wouldn't recommend doing that in Pittsburgh. Maybe Miami or something like that would make more sense. But again, guys, the economy cars, as far as ROI, no one's been able to prove me wrong on this. They do the best by far, and I can't drive that point home enough. Do not let your heart say, I want this new BMW because it's pretty, or I want a cool car to drive and own. No, get the economy if you're doing this to make money. If you just want a cool car that you can kind of pay off, go ahead. You do what you want, but that's not how you're going to make money in this business. Okay, guys, and then another thing, you don't want to get big too fast. That's a rule in business all the time. There's so many people that I see that get into the car business, they don't even have any money, and they expect to start making $10,000 a month, not revenue, but paying themselves take home. Took me some time before I was able to pay myself six figures. Actually, a few years of doing it. I could have gotten there faster, but I didn't know what I was doing and I was figuring it out. But start small. So test your market out. I recommend even the clients I work with, I usually tell them don't do any more than 3 cars for the first couple weeks we're working together, because I don't want you buying 10 cars and going in over your head, not knowing what you're doing, getting stressed out because everything's booking at once. Because once we work with you and get your settings going, all your cars are going to be booked. But don't want too much as a stress test at once. So it's like I recommend up to like 3, because once you get more than that, it gets a little bit difficult. Then another thing, I believe in leverage, right? I have some debt with my fleet, but I own most of it in equity now, in cash. But there were times where I had a more outstanding balance on my SBA small business loan. I took out interest-free credit cards at a time, up to $50,000 that I paid off in 1 year. But don't overextend yourself either, right? Like, I don't recommend, if you have $0, right, and you don't have any money to buy any equity in the car, I don't recommend taking out high loans to buy nice cars where you're paying like $500 or $600 a month per car. Doesn't make any sense. There's no money in it. Depreciation is going to kick you later. You know where it's going to kick you at, and then just the cash flow is not there. One thing goes bad with the car, you're done. So try to save up like at least $5,000. I always tell people, and some people say, well, I can't save up $5,000. Well, you're probably worrying too much about passive income instead of earned income. You should go out there and figure out a way to make $5,000 earned income. Take that $5,000, now you can put it into a cash car. But really, I don't recommend starting this business without at least a couple thousand in your pocket. I wouldn't start it with less than 3. I'd say 3 is the minimum to even want to start a car rental business. If you don't have 3,000, worry about making earned income and then look at Turo and these car rental businesses later. But you have to have at least some little nest egg, because I don't like people even to get into it when they don't have money to cover the first repairs. Doesn't make sense. And then guys, remember, like just because you start small, like that first year is really about building, and then we want to get tax returns here so we're able to take business loans out in the future. So if you're somebody that's not sitting on $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in cash, then you're probably going to want to do business financing. Well, what are you going to do for that? First, you're gonna wanna get all your cars under an LLC that you do own. You're gonna wanna make sure you finance them under your LLC. And then you're gonna wanna take a business loan after you get some tax returns. And what does all that take, guys? Time. So you do have to have some patience in this. If you look at my cash flow, I think I went from, it was like $10,000 the first year. Then the second year it went to 30,000. Then year 3, I took home over 250, and now I'm poised to do over 500 to 600,000. And I think we're going to keep going up from there too. We haven't even hit our ceiling, and we have a lot of money to buy more cars. But you can see after year 2, year 3 is where I really exploded. And why is that? Well, I had 2 years of tax returns. I was able to use that to take out business financing, and that's what just propelled me to a whole nother level that I never thought possible. And I was able to take that cash and then buy a bunch of economy cars and really grow the fleet. So if you don't have money, just keep in mind, this is a long-term play. We're trying to build generational wealth here. We're not just trying to make a couple $1,000s. If we were doing that, I'd tell you, let's go flip some stuff on eBay and go to the flea market and then make a one-off amount of money and then, go for your next meal another time to get paid again. So guys, remember, this is a couple-year plan here. And I'm not saying you can't make a lot of money even in the first couple years, especially if you're coming into this with capital or if you have some capital. I've had clients that I've worked with that have had real estate properties paid off. They've had other businesses. They were able to get financing fast and cheap funding and get like 15, 20 cars in the first 2 months. And they're already on their way to make 6 figures in year 1. But I'm saying that's not typical results. And for the average person that is not sitting on tons of capital, you're going to have to build yourself up to be able to take this out in the future. And that's what I really want to stress to you. This is long-term thinking. If you're a short-term thinker and you want quick cash right now, then find something else besides rental cars or rental properties or anything with the long-term goals, because you're not going to get there with that. And I'm not going to give you promises that you can get rich overnight with this, because you cannot. It's just not how the game works. The game of business is a long game, and you play until the game's over. So guys, like, if you're gonna pick one car, get a car that's cheap to maintain. I'd have to look at your market to give exact recommendations, but look up reliability of it, get something cheap, and get something fuel efficient, because Uber and Turo's partnership has been causing a lot of people to discuss the future of Turo, which when you look at Turo, they brand themselves as like, hey guys, let's go on an adventure, look at this really sick ride, and they'll have like some unique cars on there with celebrities driving them. In reality, it's usually lower to middle class people that are driving Uber and renting your cars, which is great because they rent the cars forever and they take pretty good care of them. But just keep in mind with your market, they probably want something fuel efficient, because what's an Uber driver care about? They care about how much money they're making. What's their biggest cost when renting the car? The price of renting the car and then fuel. So better on gas, better chance it's going to rent, and that is my game plan for first car pick, usually depending on the market. There's been a few times where we got in some cargo vans and some really interesting stuff that completely killed it, but that is if I am looking into your market and doing really in-depth research, then I would give you a different suggestion. All right, so you know what it takes to get started. I talked about cars a little bit, but let's get into what car specifically, like what are we looking for here? All right, so cars that perform well in Turo, always, like I said, the value of economy cars. As mentioned earlier, economy cars are reliable, affordable, and have lower maintenance costs. I started with economy vehicles and they were quick to rent out every single month. So economy cars work great, like I always say. Luxury vehicles like BMWs and Mercedes and things can rent for more. These cars attract business owners, vacationers, and people willing to pay a premium for style and performance. But guys, what I would say, I wouldn't go with the BMWs and the Mercedes after I've done my own research and tested it and seen positive ROI. If you're gonna go for something nicer, go for like a nicer Ford or even more reliable brand. Let's say like an Acura or a Mazda. Like some of my newer cars, for example, the Explorers, they can bring in like $1,500 to $1,800 a month, where an economy car brings in $1,000, and they're like $30,000 cars. So it's not like I'm buying like a brand new BMW at 50. So if you do want to get something a little bit nicer, I recommend that. And that takes me into the last category, and that's going to be SUVs. So SUVs are great because they typically rent for more. But again, I'm not going to go with the super luxury one. So if I were to get something that's still nicer, where, you know, it's like people are looking at the fleet thinking, you got some nice cars and it's still going to have a great ROI, that's what I'm going with. Probably like the Ford Explorer or something big. There's third row cars do rent great, especially if you're in a vacation spot with beaches. Or I know in Pittsburgh, even though we're not by a beach, we have a lot of people drive during the summer from Pittsburgh to North Carolina to go to the Outer Banks. So my Explorers and anything like third row is gone during that time. But yeah, the SUVs are always rented, but always just look at ROI, right? So we're gonna look at what this car does monthly in revenue. We're gonna look at the price to source it, then always counter reliability and things like that. But those are like the three main categories I'll buy. All right, guys, now how do you find the right car, right? Like how do you do this market research? So check on the Car Rental Coach channel, first of all, because we have videos that actually show you how to do market research. But more importantly, we use several different tools. So we use AI to scrape Turo. We look at all the past performance. We'll take a look at your zip code. We'll take a look at surrounding areas. Me and my team will go in manually and look at this stuff. If you're doing it by yourself and don't have all the tools and knowledge we have, go into Turo like a renter and you can kind of get an idea of the demand and look at different cars. But if you truly want an in-depth analysis and you want us and our team to give you our exact picks and work with you one-on-one to start or scale this car rental business, just go to carrentalcoach.com, fill out our 60-second survey, and if you qualify, you'll work with me and our team one-on-one, and we will do the market analysis for you. We'll get you connected with all of our insurance partners, our tracking team to get the right trackers for your car, and everything else you can think of. But that's only if you're somebody that really wants to work with us and take it to the next level. For everybody else that's maybe just thinking, oh, I'm just looking for a little side hustle, a couple extra bucks, just keep watching the videos. But if you're one of those people that wants to build a business, book a call with us and we'll see if you qualify. So how I've started and scaled my business over time, you've learned how I got started with one car, but how do you scale this business? How do you turn one car into a profitable fleet? This is the turning point where most hosts either succeed or they struggle. Let's talk about how you can grow your fleet strategically and make your business sustainable. Okay, so when we're talking about scaling, it's not just about buying every single car that you can get your hands on. Sometimes it's better to be patient. But that being said, I've had some clients and people I've worked with in the past where they take too long to buy cars, where they're worried about an extra like $200 in savings. And then I say, well, Jeremy, we could have had this car rented already for a month and you would have made double what you passed up on the opportunity. But that's why it doesn't have to be an amazing deal, but it has to be a good deal. And what I always recommend, right, when we're starting out, so we get our cars that are working, and how I looked at it, I didn't have SUVs to start. I had only smaller vehicles. I looked at which one of those we're doing, and then once I got 3 or 4 of them, I was like, okay, let's start diversifying a little bit. And that's when I started adding an SUV. And still to this day, I usually add 1 SUV for every 3 cars. And the only reason I do that, SUVs always do rent a little bit better and make more money, but the cars are cheaper, so they're usually it depends on what I can get them for. But a 3-to-1's been a good ratio for me, where I think my fleet's been doing very, very well, and people have been happy with the selection of cars I have. And again, guys, when I talk about the cars that we're gonna buy, we're gonna look at what the competition's doing in your area. When I did it, I took a look at seeing who the top dogs were, who was making the most money. And what did I do? I did the old Pablo Picasso thing where he said, great artists don't create, they steal. I think I butchered the quote, but anyways, the point of it is if you see somebody doing something good, then just copy what they're doing because it's most likely gonna work for you too. So I always take a look at the top hosts in the area. And if you've been in the business for 4 or 5 years, well, I bet you that you're going to have something that I can learn. I'm going to study you and I'm going to extract that piece of knowledge and then use that to help benefit myself and my fleet. So take a look at what other people have done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself or create a new blueprint. The blueprint's already existing. Read it, take a look at it, and then improve upon the design. Okay guys, another thing, right? When we're scaling, and especially when you're using leverage, we want to minimize our risk. How do we minimize our risk? Number one thing I recommend for you, and I cannot say this enough, I say this all the time, and if you don't do this, you deserve to have bad things happen. I'm just kidding, you don't deserve that, but you should listen to this advice. You should get a hardwired tracker in every single car. Don't get those little easy ones that I see a lot of you hosts out there doing that just plug right into the dash. I'm not gonna say the major brand. And you know what, I'll give you to play devil's advocate. The ones that just plug into the port, they have some benefits. One, they're easy to use. You just buy it, plug it right in, it's set up, and they have nice user interface. You know why it sucks? Because if I'm a car thief and I want to steal your car, what am I gonna do? Oh, hanging right out of the port, shoot, take it right out the window. Or if I was really smart, I'd just plug it into another car, so it's like a dummy car now. And another thing, these cars or these trackers that plug in, they can't shut the car down. I use hardwired devices on all mine. And what I can do now, first off, the device is hidden, so they can't even remove it unless they get a mechanic to. And then second, if you steal my car, I press a button, car shuts down, kill switch activated, now they can't turn the ignition on. Now I send my tow truck, or I send my guy, or I go get it if it's in the area and I'm gonna get a nice check for it, and we take it back and everything's good. And if you ever want to do private rentals in addition to Turo, you better have a private or you better have a hardwired tracker, or you're setting yourself up for failure. And when I'm dealing with like assets that are $10,000 to $50,000 a piece, not really in the mood to lose them over a tracker. So get that every time. Another thing, just because you have Turo insurance doesn't mean you can't, you don't need off rental insurance, or when you or your employer are driving this car around. If you have your cars on personal insurance, you might be breaking the rules. And if you do that, when the car's ever in an accident, even though that insurance company's been happy to take your premium every single month on time, when you say I got into an accident, they might say, oh, well, to our record, it looks like you were renting cars out on Turo. Your policy is void. We're not covering it. You're screwed. So making sure you have the right insurance. There's 3 major providers that we're partners with that we can refer you to. And we have something really exciting for you guys in certain states if you work with us, where we can set you up with private rental insurance that's never been launched before until this last year. It's an amazing product, and it's been really great helping people get set up with it. But guys, having the right insurance is another huge one. And then third, don't finance your cars like an idiot. Do not take out the biggest, most expensive loans on brand new Cadillac Escalades and all these cars because you want them. Be frugal. Keep your car payments under like $350 or under $400 a month, and then there's still plenty of room for cash flow to be made. Do not go out there and take high leverage when you don't even know what you're doing. So to protect our assets, let's track this stuff. Let's have security. You know, the trackers are my security. I also have cameras, so if you have a lot, you can do that too. But that's one, protecting your assets. 2, making sure they are insured properly so when damage does happen, you are covered and you will be paid. And 3rd, do not take out too much leverage, or let's just say don't take out the wrong type of leverage. I love leverage, but we don't want to overpay and set ourselves up for failure. So follow those 3 pieces of advice and you're going to help minimize a lot of the downside. And obviously there's more risk that I'm not including just for the sake of covering the main things here. But guys, I can't stress those enough, to protecting your assets. And that's what I've seen help host the most without getting out of this in an ugly way. And with insurance, right? Like, well, how do we make sure we're covered for every claim? And people get confused. They say, well, Turo has like 4 or 5 different plans. Well, you want to test the plans out and see how your area is. Every area is different. I'm in the city and I have a mix of some kind of like degenerate people that just destroy the cars, and then some people that are pretty great too. So I do the 80 plan. That's just what works for my fleet after doing the math. But I always recommend with being conservative at first, but then you can get aggressive and get a higher deductible where you're making more earnings if you're in an area where people are really respecting your cars. And people say, well, what happens? Like, what if I lose my insurance claim? Well, you won't lose it if you're doing the right documentation. The right documentation means you want to take the right photos, okay? All these photos have to be good. Anything that's not photographed, you know what that means? That means that it's not covered, because you have to have a before picture to prove that there's damage to it after, and that's all we're going off on here. So do not be lazy with your photos. It only takes me, well, I should say my employee now, but when I did it, about 5 minutes to picture each car, because I'll just go around them rapid firing, and then, you know, I know what to do. It's like a muscle memory. Bam, 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 oh, floor, in between seats, blah, blah, blah. Always take your odometer, your fuel, because you want to get reimbursed for those. But the claim won't be complicated as long as you take the right photos. And on top of that, with this insurance, you want to make sure that you don't give the keys to somebody when their license isn't verified. So if you ever have a license where you're wondering, like, is this real or can I check them in? Call Turo and they'll actually verify it for you and give you the go-ahead to give the keys to make sure you're covered on your trip. I only had this one time happen to me where I had to call because I had a client come in from Japan, and they rented a car, and I did not know how to verify a Japanese license. So I called Turo, they gave me the go-ahead, we gave the keys over, and we made money on the trip, and the guy was great, handled it perfectly. But protect your assets, or you might be in not the best of shape in the future. Okay, then some other ways to grow without taking too much risk, right? So I told you not to over leverage, make sure you're using the right financing. But another method, I made a whole video about this, it's called Other People's Cars. You can get investors or other people to give you cars, and I have lots of contracts that we use to set these up properly, but you can take their car and then put it in your profile. Then you could take what's called a management fee, sometimes like 20 to 30% of the revenue. They pay everything else. You collect the cash flow, so now you're not at risk. And that's a great way to start building when you don't have the money to invest yourself to keep buying cars. Use other people's cars, like other people's cash, OPC. And that's a way to help you out at the beginning stages. But like I said, just don't scale too fast. Don't take too much leverage if it's bad. keep building, find strategic partners, and you'll be successful in no time. And another thing, guys, when it comes to customer service, that's so huge in this industry. I've had so many repeat customers that say we are the best in Pittsburgh because we are quick to respond. We have the right automation set up. We have a nice location for them to pick the car up. We have good availability. But just being fast with guest communication, being very clear with your instructions, keeping a nice, clean, and well-maintained car will put you ahead of like 9 out of 10 people on this platform. So keep doing those things, and that's gonna help you build repeat customers. I'd say about 75% of my customers actually rent more than once, which is great, and we have some people that are renting like weekly from us. So building an extremely loyal clientele, and it's great because with the private rental side of what we have, really helps develop the brand. So if anything ever happens at Turo, we're covered, and we know how to set you up completely properly too to rent out privately. We could actually set you up with free websites and everything if you work with us for Car Rental Coach, which is very exciting. You guys, other things I'll do to keep repeat customers coming back, I'll offer 10% discounts to them. I'll be more lenient, give them extra time in the car. I won't charge them late fees. If somebody's been renting from me and they're like renting every single month, even if they smoke weed in the car, I probably won't charge them. If I've made $1,000 off their last trip, it's like, what's the extra $150 to piss somebody off that's gonna keep renting from me? If you rent from me one time and you smoke in the car, I'm charging you every single time though and getting every penny. But this is for those guys that have rented like 5 times and I'm just like, whatever, I'll cut them a break. But those are all keys to keeping repeat renters that nobody else is doing. It's just, it's amazing. The lack of care on Turo and the lack of professionalism by a lot of these hosts is one of the things that encourages me every day I wake up, that I know me and all my students I work with are always the top hosts on Turo, because some people take this as a joke. We're here to make real businesses and real money. We're not just here to rent our car out to help make a payment. I mean, that's a joke. We're here to make real money. So guys, now you know everything you need to start making money on Turo, but how do you actually get started? Well, here are the next steps. So I said, first guys, choose that right car, do the market analysis, figure out your budget, source it properly. Then remember, create your first listing after that. Make sure you have the right settings. Make sure you're in the right area. Make sure that car was bought properly, and put it all together, create a beautiful listing. And third, have great customer service and make sure you keep a well-maintained car, and that's gonna put you way above the competition, because the competition is low and we're gonna crush them, guys. Anybody that works with us at Car Rental Coach and watches this channel, I deeply believe you're gonna be better than the competition. And guys, let's be real. I understand that sometimes when you're doing this on your own, it can take a lot of time. I've been doing it for over 5 years, so I completely get it. I've spent tons of money on mentorship and learned this through basically lots of trials and tribulations, lots of issues. So I understand that that is a lot to do, and a lot of people don't want to go through years of work to get to where I'm at and want to get there a lot faster. That's why we developed Car Rental Coach, where you can work with us one-on-one. You'll actually work with me and my team. We'll get you started with the business. We'll walk you through every step of the way, holding your hand to helping you start or then scale your business. We've had so much success, so many clients that I love to work with that are still a part of our community, because once you work with us, most people stay with us for life, and we have a great community of over 100 different hosts right now that all communicate with each other. In addition to our coaching, we built just such a great network of partners. And if you're somebody that really wants to build this into a business and not just a little side hustle, making a couple bucks, apply to work with us at carrentalcoach.com, and I'd love to welcome you to the Car Rental Coach family. And guys, check out one of our client video testimonials here so you can see the results for yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.